Welcome to the second of the Affiliate Window Strategy Team's webinars. This month, Matt and I will be looking at some of the affiliate marketing trends we're currently seeing in mobile. We're aiming to get the presentation to around 25 minutes with time afterwards for any questions. You can ask a question by going to the Q&A app, where you'll see a section on the right-hand side of the Hangout. In the bottom right-hand corner of the viewing window, click Ask a New Question, type in your question and click Submit. As the affiliate network that has championed the growth of mobile marketing over the past few years, we felt it was worthwhile pulling many of the strands together to give a snapshot of mobile affiliate marketing in 2015. Before we start, it's worth caveating that in the interest of brevity, there are some topics we won't have time to cover off in detail. Whilst we'll touch on the offline to online piece, we won't delve too deeply during this webinar. We also won't be dealing with the app versus browser discussion. Affiliate Window took the decision a few years ago to focus on acquisition primarily via traditional mobile channels, and therefore it's not an area we've particularly expanded into in any great depth. So with that in mind, what we'll be covering off today: the growth of mobile, in which we'll look at the network's data in detail, the tracking challenge and how many advertisers and affiliates are unaware about what goes on tracked and what implications it has for their earnings. We'll then understand the consumer and new affiliate models, as well as the verticals that are succeeding in the mobile age. We'll then shift to understand how new technology is unlocking insights. Then we'll cover off the importance of understanding consumer journeys, and then we'll piece everything together. First up, I wanted to flag a brand new report that was published just this week, Ofcom's Adults Media Use and Attitudes Report. It contains some really useful mobile data that provides a foundation for some of the things we're going to talk about today. And if you do a Google search for the title of the presentation, as you can see on the slide, you should be able to find it in Google. As you can see, the data plotted in the graph shows the amount of time spent online, be it on mobile devices at home or on the go. 2013 to 14 witnessed a massive leap from 16.9 hours on average spent per week on connected devices to 20.5. Much of this growth is attributable to smartphones and tablets, and 16 to 24-year-olds are now spending almost 30 hours a week online. And as we shall see, could account for certain brands succeeding in mobile affiliate space while others are under-indexing. Further compounding this trend is the propensity of younger people to shop via smartphones, now as many as 1 in 4, with this increasing all the time. Affiliate Window has been plotting mobile data in the form of a monthly mobile tracker for 4.5 years now, with all reports available from the network's blog. Our data is drawn from around about 100 million sales that we tracked in that time from the network's 1,600 retailers, and we believe represents the biggest cross-section of mobile data published by any UK agency. If we scroll back to the beginning of 2011, just 2% of all traffic and sales originated from a tablet or handset. Fast forward to 2015, and sales account for almost 2 of every 5 tracked by the network. Contrasted to traffic, smartphones account for 1 in 4 clicks, with tablets scooping a similar amount. And Boxing Day saw us hit the watershed 50% mark, but we'll touch on that more on later. Finally, you'll notice that I've highlighted Q4 for each year. This period marks rapid adoption of mobile traffic and sales, correlating with the most fevered shopping period of the year, as well as the gifting of mobile devices. 2015 so far has actually witnessed greater growth for smartphone sales and traffic than the correlating year-on-year period in 2014, thus bucking any perceived plateauing or slowing down of mobile growth. So with these top-line figures in mind, I'm now going to hand over to Matt, who will cover off in some more depth some of the additional insights we see across the network.
We are able to break down this data by device to understand the role each device type plays. The chart on this slide shows the share of traffic and sales through smartphones and tablets. The bars represent traffic while the lines represent sales. We have always seen smartphones take the greatest share of mobile traffic across the network, and this gap has increased further in the past few months. Last January, there was a 50-50 split, while our latest stats shows that 60% of all our mobile traffic originated from a smartphone. Turning our attention to sales, we have traditionally seen tablets driving the greatest share. However, this gap has been closing month on month. So what are some of the possible reasons behind this shift in mobile activity? Well, firstly, we're seeing an increase in volume of tablet traffic originating from Android devices, we found that consumers using an Android device are less likely to convert. We'll look at this trend in more detail later in this presentation. Also, advertisers are placing a greater emphasis on their mobile strategies. Most advertisers are optimizing their sites for mobile traffic, which is in turn improving their conversion rates. Additionally, we're seeing advertisers add mobile tracking as standard, rather than merely an afterthought. This is allowing them to benefit from additional mobile opportunities that present themselves through the channel. And finally, new devices on the market are changing the way that consumers are browsing and shopping. For example, larger screen phones such as the iPhone 6 Plus could potentially be replacing tablets. This goes some way to explaining traffic through smartphones accelerating further while also closing the gap in terms of transactions. The charts on the next few slides are going to break this down further to look at the behavior of Apple versus Android devices. Firstly, we consider smartphones. Apple is dominating in terms of both traffic and transactions. Typically, we see 70 to 75% of both traffic and transactions that originate from a smartphone coming through an iPhone. Despite Android being the dominant operating system, we see a different picture when it comes to online shopping. Apple users are more likely to not only browse, but also to purchase. So if we switch our focus to tablets, we see a different picture. Traffic through iPads and Android devices has converged. Despite traffic through Android tablets increasing significantly, this hasn't necessarily translated to sales. This disconnect between traffic and sales is indicative of poor conversion rates through Android. While Android users are happy to browse, they are less inclined to purchase. The share of sales through Android tablets has increased month on month, but at a much lower rate than we have seen for traffic. This is further highlighted in this chart. Here we have plotted the conversion rate and average order values for iPads versus Android tablets. Android is in the lighter orange, and the bars represent AOV, while the line references conversion rates. From this chart, it is evident that iPad users are not only more likely to convert, they're also spending more on average when they do. We have seen iPads convert at more than double the rate of Android tablets, while average order values in April were almost £30 higher. We've also taken a look at how smartphone and tablet traffic behaves. This chart plots smartphone conversion rates in yellow versus tablet conversion in brown. Smartphone conversion rates have been somewhat behind what we have seen for tablet devices, and we can attribute this to a number of reasons. Firstly, the larger screen allows for a smoother customer journey, especially where advertisers haven't optimized their sites for smartphones. When landing on a desktop version of a site through a smartphone, navigation can be extremely clumsy. Also, typically, advertisers don't have sites that have been specifically designed for tablets, whereas they do for smartphones. When landing on a desktop version of the site through a tablet, there's no need for the advertiser to add additional tracking. For smartphones, tracking needs to be added in order to track sales, unless the site has been built using responsive design. So this may not be a true reflection of conversion rate through smartphones if advertisers have not added this tracking. Kevin will pick up on the impact of untracked revenue shortly. And finally, a significant volume of smartphone traffic is likely to be research and traffic. We'll come on to looking at this in more detail shortly. We've seen this gap has narrowed at the start of this year versus the same period last year. Between January and April this year, smartphones converted 59% of the rate we see tablets convert. In the same period last year, this was 46%. The narrowing of this gap has been more down to the decrease in conversion rates for tablets rather than the increase in smartphone conversion. As we've seen in previous slides, there's been a significant increase in Android tablet traffic, which we know converts at a much lower rate, reducing the overall conversion rates we have seen through tablets. I'm now going to hand back to Kevin, who will look at the tracking challenge in more detail.
So untracked commissions was something we wanted to tackle a few years ago. We recognised that advertisers were launching dedicated m-commerce sites without affiliate tracking in place. Whilst the smartphone numbers were low in 2011 when we launched our initiative, we foresaw a future where affiliates were going unrewarded for significant volumes of sales, as well as the channel underreporting its reach and scope. We therefore embarked on a project called Making Mobile Count and came up with a solution that gave advertisers two options: either to add the network's newly created redirect solution in place so that traffic was forced through to a desktop page where sales would track, or they had the option of paying a mobile compensation for lost sales. We obviously met some initial resistance because no brand wants a poor consumer experience having invested in dedicated mobile content, but we were also unprepared to allow this traffic and the subsequent sales go uncredited. I think many people assume this problem's gone away because it was something that was first talked about a few years ago. And certainly responsive web design seems to be more prevalent than dedicated m-commerce platforms, thus negating the need to add additional tracking. But we actually believe the situation could have worsened generally within the industry, as a number of big advertisers still don't have their tracking in place. And obviously mobile traffic has grown exponentially. As an aside, tablets usually work off a desktop site, thus avoiding this problem. So what have been the implications? Well, we wanted to show the importance of ensuring mobile sales are tracked and what material impact it can have on affiliates. So in this first pie chart, you can see the volume of smartphone clicks we recorded for a well-known high street retailer in 2015 that we placed on the mobile fix a few years ago. So around about 1 in 5 clicks were coming through smartphones. So whilst sales were lower, at about 1 in 9 sales, they still represent a sizable chunk of revenue. In fact, about £3.8 million in 2014 and a subsequent £133,000 worth of commissions that without our mobile fix in place would go untracked. We genuinely believe that there is a very significant amount of revenue that is still unattributed to the affiliate channel because people are just either generally unaware or it's not been prioritized for companies and networks. So therefore, we'd urge any agencies and advertisers listening to get this absolutely fundamental tenet of their program in place. Affiliate Windows produced a simple one-page that explains why tracking should be added and the benefits of doing so. And if you contact strategy@affiliatewindow.com, we can give you more details. Just to underline that point further, I've picked another advertiser who added their tracking just a few months ago. It's what we call the instant 10% uplift, because you can see how few smartphone sales were being tracked beforehand. Some consumers will always persist and find a link to the desktop site, regardless of how hidden it is, and then compared to the immediate period afterwards, where we did see that instant 10% uplift. So now we've established the importance of tracking smartphone sales, what is actually happening on the ground? Who are the advertisers and publishers who are championing the mobile charge? So what I've listed here are the types of products and brands we've tracked as over-indexing on smartphones and tablets. We've taken the network's top 500 advertisers by sales and plotted them according to the percentage of sales they're recording via both platforms to see what trends emerge. Smartphones typically offer quite a diverse picture, a broad church of products and services that are doing well. Typically, we see commoditized products such as CDs, books, and DVDs that don't require anything experiential in order to push the consumer into a buying mode. They're low value, with key considerations being price and delivery, rather than whether you feel confident buying via a different platform. Let's also remember that Amazon and eBay have led the way in making it incredibly easy to purchase such products, so there may be a halo effect at work here. Second up, we have services that may have a short shelf life or are readily accessed via email. Groupon and similar companies do well on handsets. Thirdly, fast fashion is raking in the sales on smartphones. Referencing my first data slide in which I said young people were most likely to buy via their handsets, it's not necessarily a surprise that advertisers who appeal to this demographic have seen an uplift. This tells us something about targeting by device that we may want to consider when speaking to affiliates. Tickets similarly over-index, as do fast food chains such as Domino's. However, if we flip over and look at what tablets look like, well, it's far more consistent and universal. We see a consistent set of champions, typically older, with higher basket values, a demographic, a perfect fit with the iPad, and the iPad typically massively over-indexes on these brands as well. Publishers too often offer a real mixture of activity within mobile. If we take the same principle as advertisers and apply the percentage of sales generated by the top 500 affiliates on the network, it throws up some interesting and quite encouraging signs of growth. It's worth pointing out that the major affiliates are absent from the higher echelons of such a list. Whilst there's no doubt voucher, loyalty and cashback sites are pulling in sizable numbers of sales across multiple devices, they have yet to come close to our top by percentage. In fact, the most successful ones are generating sales almost exclusively across smartphones and tablets. First off, we have companies like Tapjoy who are more lead generation focused, monetizing mobile gaming with deals and offers that lead to bonuses or top-ups. Aside from that, one of the most encouraging trends we've seen quite recently has been the rise of the fashion mobile affiliate. Our first example here is an affiliate who has built a series of apps designed to appeal to fashion clothing and accessories niches. Taking a menswear app they've created, you can see the split of sales they're generating via phone and tablet, and incidentally, they're not generating any sales via traditional desktop. They've also generated 46,000 clicks for one menswear brand so far in 2015, but so far the conversions remain poor. But actually, are the conversions poor, or do we need to consider how smartphones are more designed for casual browsing? If that's the case, then more clicks are being recorded with just potentially less intent to purchase. Therefore, the conversion as such isn't poor, just reflective of the positioning of the activity and the purpose of the device. This is obviously something that isn't easy to measure. Let's take another example, in this case, Fashion Chick. Their desktop and tablet clicks are neck and neck, but they have a 30% lower click-to-sale ratio on tablet for their biggest advertiser on the network. Interestingly, their average order value is marginally higher on tablets, so this offsets some of the impact of a lower conversion rate. But again, we need to ask ourselves the question, is tablet and smartphone traffic created equally with desktop, or does it appeal to consumers at a different stage of the purchase cycle? Matt will pick up on this more later. Many affiliates offer multiple routes to market now, and we need to be aware of the multi-channel offering from certainly the major affiliates in the space. This impacts how we think about them and where they're premised within the purchasing cycle, with many people now acting as initiators, turning on its head our perception of them just being closers. They also are able to address the offline to online challenge and vice versa. So let's pick up on one of those points. So I've taken a straightforward voucher code for Burton Menswear that was available via two well-known affiliates' phone apps and was then redeemable in store. As you can see, as you might expect, there were positive increases across the board, as such a compelling code might be expected to achieve. But the most interesting point for us was the code's ability to drive a higher average order value in store rather than online. Can affiliates act as an initial driver for consumers who are then compelled by a positive in-store experience to spend more? So what was interesting about the last example for us is how codes can drive conversions at different times. Our sales performance numbers across devices, when plotted daily throughout a month, give a further indication of this. So here you can see our March performance plotted on a daily basis, and you can see there's a convergence in mobile and desktop sales at the weekends, indicated here by the 4 pink bars on the graph. Various pieces of research have shown that consumers are more compelled to react to short-term offers, and therefore do we need to start thinking creatively about how we offer these to affiliates for limited periods at the weekends when consumers are far more likely to be on a mobile device. Let's take that one step further and appreciate how consumers switch between devices during the course of a day. Here you can see affiliate windows traffic patterns across Boxing Day, the day I previously mentioned, as the first the network hit 50% of our clicks tracked via tablets and smartphones. You can see there were two key periods, mid to late morning and the end of the day, when mobile traffic exceeded desktop. In other words, consumers were probably switching between devices during the course of the day. So what this illustrates to us is that it's imperative we track between devices. Conceptually, this is nothing new, but remains elusive for many advertisers. For affiliates, they're working blind with little insight about how they're influencing sales on one device that then won't track on another. This was definitely one of the key spurs behind our decision to invest in a cross-tracking device solution. You can find out more details about this on our blog or by contacting us. Certainly from a strategy point of view, cross-device tracking is as much about insight as anything else. One of the theories we wanted to prove was whether we could see more complex routes to market from plotting across different devices. We also wanted to understand whether affiliates were influencing much earlier in the purchase cycle than our data has always shown us. Let's consider cookie periods, which are a good indicator of a sales lag or potential earlier influence of affiliates. So typically they're set at 30 days across most affiliate programs, and generally once set, they're ignored and rarely spoken of again. But increasingly, advertisers have tweaked with them, slashing them sometimes to less than a week, on the belief that the vast majority of sales through the affiliate channel happen within a single day. Certainly our historic data shows this. Let's take a look at, in this example, a cross-device advertiser who now tracks single device sales, whether that's a smartphone or a tablet or a desktop, as well as multiple device sales. That is sales that involve cookies being dropped for a single transaction on multiple platforms. In this instance, you can see the single platform sales in the blue column. 74% occur within 1 day. Let's compare that to the orange column that shows that just 14% of those sales transact when consumers hop between tablets in the same time period, be it a tablet, a smartphone, or a desktop. Equally compelling is the fact that the majority of sales, when tracked across multiple devices, actually happen in the final 2 weeks of the cookie periods, compared to around 1 in 10 on a single device. Now, this really came as a surprise to us. This blows apart our theories on the importance of cookie periods. In other words, is it time we accepted that affiliates influence advertiser sales much earlier than we ever thought they did? This illustrated again to us just how little we know as an industry about the sales affiliates are driving for their advertisers. It also demonstrates how we need to start thinking about affiliates as early funnel contributors rather than just closers of sales. Remember, affiliate window offers assist payments for advertisers who are interested in identifying and rewarding those affiliates who are driving early sale interactions. And you can either find that information in the user interface, or you can contact your account contact if you work with us. We should be able to supply you with that information. So with that in mind, I'm now going to hand back to Matt, who's going to pick up on a few other cross-device insights.
Having looked at the conversion rates of each device early in this presentation, it was evident that smartphones were some way behind tablet. While there are obvious reasons for this that have been highlighted, such as poor mobile customer journeys and a lack of tracking, have we been underestimating the role of smartphones as an influencing device? Just as the previous slide demonstrated that cookie lengths are in fact longer than we had first anticipated, our cross-device insights have also enabled us to uncover how consumers are using smartphones in the research phase of the purchasing cycle. This chart considers multi-device sales that started on a smartphone. It's a little complicated to explain, but essentially the lines show the time when the initial click took place on a smartphone, while the bars show the time of conversion. This is of the sales that started on a smartphone, regardless of the device that the sale eventually converted on. The colors highlight the difference in behavior between weekdays and the weekend. From this, we're able to uncover that smartphones are responsible for a lot of research clicks early in the morning and later at night. Traffic outstrips conversions during these periods, both at weekends and during the week. During the week, we see 24.5% of sales starting on a smartphone are between 10 p.m. and 8 a.m., whereas 12% of sales starting on a smartphone are actually converting between these times. Looking at the weekend, 18% of sales starting on a smartphone are between 10 p.m. and 8 a.m., whereas 11% of sales starting on a smartphone are converting between these times. From this data, it's evident that early morning and late evening traffic originating from a smartphone is converting at a later date on another device. While the conversion of traffic through smartphones may look poor on the surface, this goes some way to influencing a later purchasing decision. With the staggering increase in mobile activity over the past few years, it has been essential for our advertisers to report on and benchmark their mobile activity. We first started offering mobile reporting in the interface back in 2012. This allowed for advertisers to monitor their performance by device type and also by the actual device. It's allowed them to see how this varies by affiliates on their program and includes metrics such as clicks, transactions, average order value, and conversion rate. Our business intelligence tool has also allowed us to benchmark mobile activity against similar advertisers or across certain promotional types. This screenshot shows a snapshot of a report available to all account managers to help benchmark performance. Advertisers can be added to the advertiser filter to benchmark against a particular sector, while publishers can be added to the filters to see how a certain group of affiliates perform in terms of mobile. It's also possible to exclude certain publishers. So if you wanted to see how see your mobile performance excluding any incentivized traffic, for example, these could be added to the filter and stripped out. This has really helped us to extend our insights from an advertiser or a network-wide perspective to focus on a particular sector or a particular affiliate promotional type. Again, this can be drilled down further to understand each device and also on a number of key metrics. If you're interested in finding out more, your account contact will be able to assist you with any mobile benchmarking. I'm just going to hand you back to Kevin, who's going to wrap up this presentation.
So just before I finish, if anybody has any questions, if you want to post them now, then we'll address them in a minute or so. So in summary, what have we talked about today? So we know that tracking is imperative and can have a very tangible impact on affiliate revenues. Drilling into the data uncovers distinct trends that are often quite logical, but remind us why it's important to consider how these impact affiliate traffic. There are significant demographic variances as well as significant sector and vertical variances. New affiliate models are finally emerging, especially in retail, and affiliate window data can be downloaded from the interface so every affiliate and advertiser can understand this more. Cross-device data indicates undocumented early affiliate influence that we now need to understand, and putting a value on smartphone affiliate traffic is a priority that we have to collaborate to better document and reward. So we hope you found this webinar useful. Remember, we make our mobile data available every month with further insights in the strategy newsletter, with a full quarterly report available every quarter. The next edition of the strategy newsletter will be published next week, and so to sign up for that, go to the email address on the screen, which is strategy@affiliatewindow.com. Matt has also produced a mobile document that covers off a number of the points we've talked about today that you can access by emailing us at the same address. So there haven't been any questions submitted, so in light of that, thank you very much for listening, and we will post details of our next webinar on the Affiliate Window blog in due course. Thank you very much.